It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. April Patterson, DDS, affectionately known as Dr. Patty. Since 2012, Dr. Patty's Dental Boutique has redefined dentistry in Fort Lauderdale. As South Florida's leading dental spa, Dr. Patty's Dental Boutique specializes in premier dentistry, upscale cosmetology, spa offerings, and remarkable client service. Dr. April Patterson's method of relaxation dentistry has removed the fear and anxiety associated with dental visits and replaced it with a luxurious experience. More affectionately known as Dr. Patty, her highly trained and forward-thinking cosmetic dentistry. She attended Florida State University and earned her bachelor's degree in biology before completing dental school at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, named one of the top 3 dental schools by U.S. News and World Report to obtain her dentistry doctorate. Dr. Patty trained extensively with some of the most respected cosmetic dental specialists in the industry at well-recognized institutions. After working in corporate dentistry, after completing her education, Dr. Patty opened her trailblazing practice in Fort Lauderdale at the age of 32. What began as a small practice, the Dental Boutique has grown into a leading office for impeccable cosmetic dentistry and luxurious experiences in South Florida. The Dental Boutique's biggest differentiator is that Dr. Patty creates a comfort-conscious atmosphere, leaving customers anxiety-free by offering multiple types of sedation services and amenities such as complimentary hot towel service, temple massage therapy, wine coffee bar, paraffin treatments, music and movie selections, along with concierge options. It is renowned for its state-of-the-art technologies and exceptionally one-on-one dental care. Dr. Patty will open a new office in Miami this year, 2021. But my gosh, I'm so glad to have you on the show because this month, this is May 13th, and this month, 6,500 kids are going to come out of dental school. And there was been a pandemic. It's reopening. My gosh, they're scared. And I wanted to, you hit the ground running. I just want to ask you, what advice would you have for these kids coming out of dental school?
My biggest advice would probably be the first thing I would say is make sure you know how to get a job when you get out of dental school. That was one of the mistakes I had made. I did not know exactly where was I supposed to look to find a job. So if you don't already have connections, make sure you understand how are dentists finding jobs these days. Right now, Indeed is a huge platform that we use to hire. But that would be my number one advice. It's just something you're like, all right, I got my degree, I'm ready to go. And then I was kind of like, wait, how do I find a job? And also dental reps for dental companies. Yeah.
Dental reps. What I love about you the most, there's so many things about you impress me, but you didn't just say, okay, I'm just going to go down and be a standard dentist. I'm just not going to do the regular family practice, general dental practice. You were swinging for the fences and end up going to a cosmetic spa. But is that something they can do right out of school, or is that a long journey to get where you're at?
For me, it was a journey. I actually, when I graduated dental school, had no intentions of even opening my own practice. That was just nowhere on my journey map, so to speak. I wanted to first. I actually worked for a dentist, primarily just bringing in my own clients, and we split everything 50-50. And that then eventually turned into a corporate job that I really loved. The company really loved me. I did a lot of recruiting with them. And it actually took someone from that company saying to me, hey, when are you going to open the office? Because I'd like to come work for you. And I was like, huh. So for me, it was not on my, I had not thought about opening my own practice. It was just not I had not thought about it, period. So this has been a journey for me, and basically the concept is based on the type of dental office that I would like to go to. So I don't like a lot of things. I don't have many hobbies. I enjoy fine dining. I enjoy being on boats. I enjoy, fancy traveling. And this is kind of all that in like a bottle for me.
Wow, fine dining and boats and traveling. That sounds fun. Oh, and by the way, on Dental Town, we've had there are 1,761 jobs available on the free classified ads on Dental Town. There's 5,176 ads. It's always been one of the biggest functions of Dental Town. But you know what? Everything is attitude. I've seen people get out of school, go work for a DSO with this horrible attitude for like 2 or 3 years. And I'll say, okay, well, the guy that owns your DSO owns like 100 or 300 or 500 or 1,000 offices. So certainly most individual dentists have a hard time managing one office. So did you learn a whole bunch about the company that can manage hundreds of offices and they didn't? And then you did what I've always been saying is that furthermore, if I worked for a DSO, say in Arizona, and I would find the smartest person, office manager, maybe she's the regional director, or maybe somebody high up the corporate ladder that knows all the systems, and I'd headhunt that person out and go start my own. And it's like all they did is work there for 3 years with a bad attitude, didn't learn anything about the business of dentistry, and didn't recruit one employee from an organization that's running 1,000 offices. So your attitude had to be very, very positive.
Yeah, attitude is everything. Attitude is everything.
So why?
Is everything.
So where do you think your good attitude come from? Some people just always seem to, the glass is always half empty, and other people just roll with the punches, and they're just waiting to counterpunch, and they have a great attitude, and when they see that counterpunch, they grab that employee, they make it, they bust a move. But where does that come from in you?
Well, I'm an Aries, so I should put that out there. So I'm a little bit fiery naturally, and I'm not perfect, but there are certain things that I've done in my life. Like I spent an entire year with Tony Robbins traveling, and even things like that have helped me define my journey and what it is I've wanted to create, the legacy that I want to leave, and how to lead a more happy life, So it takes work, and everything that we tell our brain, that's what our brain thinks, and that's what we feel, So I think it takes work to be a happy person and to, want to just have positivity, emerge out of my body and like attract that.
When you said Tony Robbins, my heart sunk because he was one of the first people I called. He was on 5 years ago. He's episode 301. And on YouTube, it had over 6,000 views. It was the only time I ever did this, and the video didn't come through. Oh my gosh, my perfect son Ryan, something went wrong and he was just sick. And I said, well, we got the sound file for iTunes, but on YouTube, it's just a still picture. So if you ever run into Tony again, tell him, hey, it's been 5 years ago. Go back on Howard's show, and this time, Kyle, I swear to God, you have to have the video working on time too. But yeah, I love Tony Robbins. In fact, my 30-day dental MBA, I stole the idea from him. I went to MBA school in '98, and I bought a laptop, and I took notes for 2 years about everything towards dental. And when I was done, he had that 30-day personal power journey. So I turned mine into Dr. Fran's 30-day dental MBA, and it's free on YouTube and iTunes, and it's been a hit. But what was the big? You spent a year traveling with Tony. What was that all about, and what did that launch you from family dentistry to spa, or what was the lasting impact of Tony Robbins on Dr. Patty?
Well, the entire reason that I went to Tony Robbins, because actually I was already doing, my spa concept, and everything was amazing. It was phenomenal. And I was just kind of like, what am I going to do next? Like what, remember I started this practice, I'm 32, and I'm kind of like, I'm not married at the time, not married. I don't have any kids. what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? I'm making all this money. Where does it go? Like, what am I doing? I don't even know. So here we go again, right? Like, what do I do next? So when I don't know what to do next, I seek out people who can help me kind of put that energy somewhere. And Tony always says that you'll get what you wanted, but you'll get what you need, right? And from that year, I just learned so much about myself, mostly about my fears, but also about my aspirations. And I really was able to sort of map out what I wanted to do in order to create my legacy.
Now, I noticed the young people like you, you talk about Instagram, and then there's the old guys like me who are on Twitter. Twitter would be my be my backup. But would you say the like you have a Twitter account, but I see that you mostly do Instagram. But
Yes.
is Instagram, is that a big part of marketing for you, or what would you say? Where do you find these high end clients that want spa dentistry?
Well, I guess first of all, I mean, I live in South Florida, so I live in a haven of where cosmetics is super important to a lot of people here. So that's the first thing. Like, I don't know if it would be the same if I lived in Nebraska. I'm not sure. So I think that's one thing you have to look at, like, who is your audience. I also have a practice in a wealthy part of town. So I guess that's also important, where location. Oh, how do I find? So when specifically in reference to Instagram is a mixed bag, there's younger people on Instagram, but there's also younger people who are looking to do cosmetic dentistry. But Facebook, I mean, is still the place to go to, recruit clients. So, but I think, a combination of both are important. And there's still things that I'm working on to make those, to squeeze the juice out of both of those a little bit more. And that's, even for me, has been something new for me. I, again, am in a neighborhood where my bread and butter are just people in my community. So actually going out in my community has been a big part of, my growth.
Now, were you born down there in Miami?
I was born in a town called Boynton Beach, which is considered like a whole nother world from Miami, but it's only like, 40 miles north of Miami. But
it was called what?
Yeah.
Valise Beach?
Boynton Beach.
Oh, Boynton Beach.
Yeah, which is next to Delray, is in Palm Beach County. So, Miami is Miami-Dade County, and Broward County is the next county, and Palm Beach County is one more up. So 2 counties away from Miami is where I grew up.
And then the president of the American Dental Association next year is from Miami, Cesar Sabates, who was my classmate at UMKC in 1987.
Oh, wow.
So Miami is going to make the big world in dentistry when Cesar Sabates, he was actually born in Cuba, and now he's in Miami, and it's so... you're getting old when your classmates are the president of the American Dental Association.
Yeah.
But the worst feeling of old I got was actually last Sunday when I heard my 5-year-old granddaughter ask Grandma, "Is Grandpa dead or is he sleeping?" And I thought, damn.
She said it in front of you?
Oh my God. You're old when your grandchildren are wondering if you're dead. I wanted to get I wanted to also, everybody wants me to ask who I'm interviewing, did you take the vaccine?
I did take the vaccine. I'm actually pregnant right now, and I took the vaccine. It was a very hard decision. But after, experiencing, I had an employee who had COVID, and it was really bad. It was scary, and she didn't have any, conditions or anything. That was scary. I'm blessed, lucky that I haven't actually personally lost someone to COVID, but I have employees who lost family and friends to COVID. And once my doctor, I was one of those things, I was like, I'm not bringing it up to my doctor unless she brings it up, But once she brought it up and she recommended it, it was, I made the decision to go ahead and pull the trigger and do it. And I pray that everything will be okay,
This morning on the way in, I stopped by the car wash to wash my car. This place, it's always packed. It's forever. And this is like the third or fourth time I've gone in there, and I was the only guy at the car wash. I mean, these are very strange times. So you've lived your whole life in the South Florida area. What does the economy look like to you on the ground in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Boyd? Does it look like it's coming back, or does it still look shell-shocked from a pandemic?
So, Howard, Miami never really closed. So here in South Florida, people wore masks sometimes. But my office closed for about 6 weeks. There was a serious shutdown for about 6 weeks. But other than that, businesses have been operating. We have beautiful weather. Restaurants were able to move dining outside. So yes, there was a difference in the way that how crowded things were. Yes, I didn't get to see friends and family as much as I would normally get to see friends and family, but for me personally, and for the people around me and my circles, there has not been like a super, shock to us, with the pandemic. So my experience here in South Florida is probably very different from other people's experience. So yeah, we had a pandemic, but I think we more felt it that just like we weren't able to be with friends and family. We weren't able to go to large gatherings. But there's, even the tourist world, tourists were still flooding Miami. People they travel here like they're traveling to Mexico. So it's just been it's been a weird time, but there's no shock, And the 6 weeks we closed, I was like, oh, thank goodness. The first break I've ever had since I graduated dental school.
Yeah, I hear you on that. When I look at the numbers, I'm mostly concerned about the kids coming out. I've had my 4 boys; they're all out of the home. They've made 6 grandkids. My grandchildren are now asking if I'm still alive. So my value is trying to say I think that the knowledge only has value if you can transfer it to your replacements. So as
Right.
I'm getting ready to go out, I'm worried about telling the kids that are just coming out everything I learned in the 3 decades I've been out since '87. Obviously, if they stay in school and specialize, that's just big money. And there's so many specialties. There's oral surgery, endo, perio, pediatric dentistry, ortho, pros, dental anesthesia, oral facial pain, oral med, oral path, oral radiology, dental public health. And when you look at the money, the average specialist makes $320,000, whereas the average general dentist makes $197,000. So obviously, you'll make an extra $100,000 a year if you stay in school and specialize in something. But when I look at the general dentist, they average $197,000, but you can break apart that number. If they own their own practice, like you and me, they make $244,000 on average, and if they're employees, they make $147,000. So basically, if you're going to go be an associate, you're going to make $100,000 less. But then when you and I look at this, we should be able to think, well, if we hire an associate, we can make $100,000 a year off that doctor. If the macro numbers show you can make about $100,000 a year off of a dentist. Does that appeal? Does hiring an associate appeal to you? Is that part of your business model, or are you a workhorse that just wants to do it all herself?
No, Howard, I am in the business of hiring associates. So I am a creative individual. I'm looking to continue to grow my practice. And I love to grow people more than anything. Like, I love to grow people. I love to teach. I'm just like you said, I believe in like passing on what we know. I'm not stingy with my knowledge. So I am in the business of hiring associates with great personalities who are positive, who are looking to learn, and who are looking to grow. And I am really looking right now to bring on associates. Like, come to me. Yes.
Well, how do they contact you if they're interested?
Well, they could email me at info@drpattydental.com, DRPATTY dental.com. My website, drpattydental.com. Or they can go to my website for the practice in Miami that's getting ready to open. It's an 8,000 square foot building, Howard. So
Wow.
20 off. Yes.
Okay, but I this is Dentistry Uncensored. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you're politically correct, not going to answer it truthfully, but I want you to really answer truthfully.
Tell me.
Well,
I don't know. I'm honest to a fault, Howard. You better be careful.
All right. I'm going to throw you under a bridge right now.
Okay, do it.
If you were a pediatric dentist, you wouldn't hire somebody who hated kids like me. I mean, I would rather. I'll turn in my license before I have to be a pediatric dentist. I go work at Taco Bell third shift. What do you think about it? But be honest, whenever I see someone crushing it in cosmetic dentistry and spa dentistry, they always look really, really hot like you. You wouldn't hire somebody to come in a cosmetic dentistry spa who look like Fred Flintstone or Barney Rubble or Howard Ferran. Be truthful. If you're gonna hire someone, they're gonna be hot. Am I right or wrong?
They should match the brand, but also their personality is even bigger, and their willingness to learn and grow is a much bigger factor. But yes, we would like them to match the brand, and you need to look the part, So
and when they come out of school, their big insecurity is that everybody thinks they're young, and have you ever done this before? And they have to admit, yes, I did it in school on a model. How old do you have to look as a young associate to look like yes, I can do this root canal, I can do this veneer case? How old do you have to look to be able to pull it off? That you're an expert?
Howard, it's not about how you look; it's about attitude. It's about security inside and knowing that you absolutely know how to do the procedure. Like, look at me. How old do I look, Howard?
32.
Right. I look like I haven't aged a day, right? Yeah. Like, that is not what it's about. Yeah. Sometimes people come to my practice who they didn't necessarily look, my practice up, and they may have ended up here from their insurance, which we still take some PPO insurances. And I walk in the room, they're like, "Oh, you're the doctor?" "Yes, I'm the doctor, and let me talk to you." And immediately I can switch that attitude. Like, so it's not about how you look. I want to look younger. And when they tell me I look young, I'm like, "Thank you. It's my Botox and fillers. Thank you."
So that's a great leading question. So what all procedures does a dental spa do? Does it include Botox, fillers, bleaching, bonding, veneers? What are the big ticket items these days in spa dentistry?
Well, Howard, I'm known here in South Florida as the queen of veneers. So that is, smile makeovers, full mouth rehab. When people are looking to get a smile makeover quickly, that is what we specialize in. So I see people from all over the country. And that I would say that's my big ticket item. That's what I love. That's what I enjoy. And as I bring on associates, they bring on, the things that they're really good at. So, but also, I do lips. I do lips, I do cheeks with fillers. So those are also big ticket items for me.
So when I got out of
Yesterday,
school,
I don't even think I did dentistry. I think I did Botox and fillers the entire day.
wow. When I got out of school in '87, cosmetic dentistry was very cringy because you'd see someone come in and they'd have a slightly rotated tooth or they'd have a chip here, and then the next slide, 10 upper teeth, 10 lower teeth were prepared for full crowns, and those lower anteriors. By the time you prepare that triangle tooth for a crown, it looks like a kernel of rice, and I would just cringe. And then adhesive dentistry was taking off, and you could start doing veneers. But I noticed a lot of people back in the day, they didn't want to file down 10 upper and 10 lower teeth for a PFM, and a lot of them did veneers with first they unraveled it with orthodontics, or they did bonding. So do you when someone comes in to do veneers, do you sometimes say no? We need to unravel this with Invisalign first, or do you ever do some cases would you prefer to do direct bonding, or is it more usually if you had 100 patients wanting veneers, just 100 patients would get veneers?
Generally speaking, our clients are very knowledgeable about the procedure that they are looking to have done. They've already had 1 or 2 consults. They've done research, so that most of our clients come in very knowledgeable. And when they come here, they are generally ready to move forward with cosmetics. And basically, I help them unravel the best way to get from point A to point B. It's not always veneers. And depending on also how a client speaks to me about what they like for their final outcome, they may come in saying that they want braces, but everything else that they say after that, I'm like, this client is not going to do well with braces, or vice versa. So it's my job to, look at each case. Each case is special. It's not cookie cutter. Every client I spend a lot of time with to figure out what it is that they want and sort of what I feel may be the best way to get them there. So a smile makeover could include multiple things. It may not be all veneers. And then also, like, how much work restorations do they already have in their mouth? Do they have fillings in between each tooth already? You know what I mean? So everything is special. Everything is looked at individually, but it's not cookie cutter. So 100 people come in for veneers, not necessarily 100 people are getting veneers.
So on dentistry, we have 50. On Dental Town, we have 50 forms, and one of them is cosmetic dentistry. And cosmetic dentistry is divided into bleaching, whitening, cosmetic dentistry, Botox, and dermal fillers. And I wanted to ask you this question. Some dentist posted today, says, I have an associate who wants to do Botox in her office. She wants to buy her own Botox supply and do the Botox after dental procedures. What arrangements in terms of compensation out there that work for everybody? There are still overhead costs. Should I charge the associate 25% of her production to use the facility? What would you recommend?
Well, that's a great question. I think that each associate situation is different. It depends on their skill set, how much training you have to give them or they have to get from the outside. Are you buying the product? Are they buying the product? Are you getting bulk product discounts? So the product could be very expensive if you're not doing enough of it. So, there's so many variables that go into that. It's just not a straightforward answer about, how you should sort of, pay an associate on Botox and fillers. I think if you aren't currently doing it, an associate is offering to bring that to your practice, you should let them. And you should maybe let them, if it's your first time, maybe let them help guide you through what that looks like, especially if they're willing to buy the product. Because it's not something that you should just, start buying a product for. The products are not cheap. So it's sort of a big investment on your part, which with almost most dentists, it would prevent you from just sort of moving forward in that direction. So I would say let the associate sort of guide you and like, be open to if you're not currently doing it, because now you're just adding on additional services to your practice. And even if it's only 20%, I mean, it's 20% that, you're not doing anything for it. They're doing the work. So it's a good place to start.
Some dentists say they're not going to get into Botox because the Botox alone is 50% of the fee of the procedure. And they're saying, look, I already got 2/3 overhead. I already got 65% overhead. And now I'm going to do a procedure where just the supply of Botox, if I charge $400 for the Botox, I got $200 just for that supply, not to mention rent, mortgage, equipment, computer, labor. So a lot of people claim that it's just too high overhead to get into. What would you say to that?
I would say that they're not doing it.
So they need to do more.
Yes, it's very expensive if you're not doing a lot of it. And if you're not doing a lot of it, you're probably wasting a lot of product also. So, I mean, Botox only lasts so many days after you constitute. So, market for it, figure out before you bring it on, figure out a campaign, have an event before you have before you even start selling it, get everything set up and then, buy the product. But also you need to know how to do it. If you don't, I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think every dentist should just be like, oh, because I can do it, I'm going to do it. Like, I think I have a really good sense of symmetry and like, it's definitely an art. It's a tactile thing. It's a visual thing. It's not for everybody. And I see some people, holding the needle to the face and they're like, it's different when you're shaking a little bit in the mouth, but when you're like getting ready to inject somebody near their eye and you're like shaking, it's like nerve-wracking. So,
and a lot of kids, they wonder, well, if I become a cosmetic dentist like Dr. Patty, am I going to have to buy an expensive laser? Some of these lasers are $135,000 for a millennial laser, things like that. Do you have to buy a very expensive laser to do what you're doing?
Well, I have a Lanap laser. I have a millennium laser. I have not always had it, but yes, I have one. And again, if you have a clientele, you make the money back and you make profit. So it's one of those things, like it's not just about having a cosmetic practice, because even a general dentist, a Medicaid office could probably benefit from having a millennium laser. It's just like, how are you marketing it? Are you using it enough? Like, do you have the clientele? Do you have enough clients, period? So I don't think it's just about having a cosmetic practice, but when you are full service and the more products and procedures you can offer to your clients, the more profitable your practice will be.
I'm just curious, but I don't do Botox in the office. I don't have a practice like that, but I'm just assuming it has to be 90% women, I would think, or because I'm confused now. A lot of people are, this is a very wild statistic that I've seen, that due to the pandemic, like when I brush my teeth and I floss, I do that in the shower. I don't use a mirror. I don't have any hair. I mean, there's no routine in my life that I'm looking in the mirror, right? And they said that due to the pandemic and all these Zoom meetings, that the percent of makeup bought by men went up 4-fold. Now, of course, it started at like 1% of makeup or 2%, but it's a 400% increase because men, for the first time, are staring at their face a lot, and they're thinking, holy shit, I should do something about my teeth or my gums or whatever. But before pandemic, what percent of your practice was boys versus girls? And did you see an increase after a year of Zoom meetings and all these boys looking at their face are coming in and saying, Dr. Patty, I got to look better on a Zoom call?
Right. That 100%. We had more men, but I mean, don't get me wrong, we see a lot of men, and don't get it twisted. a lot of men do a lot of cosmetic things to themselves and again, I am here in South Florida, so but a lot of men like to take care of themselves and groom themselves. But yes, Zoom calls has really, really, I mean, some of the smile makeovers that I've done on like professional men, I, and I love working on men. They're my number one audience. That's who I market to be honest. I love men. They come in, they know what they want, they know how to make a decision, they know what their schedule is. Men are easy. But the number of professional men coming in after the pandemic, and some of the things that we had to do to correct their smile. I mean, honestly, I'm just like, how did they even operate? Are they even a professional with their smile like this? I don't even understand. But yeah, Zoom did it. That part of the pandemic has been great for us.
Well, and I think men really need to think about this because I grew up with 5 sisters, right? And I could bring them to their knees by what I do. If one of them really, really pissed me off, what I would do is I would get up an hour before school started, and I would go hide their steam curlers and their fishing tackle box that had all their rouge and mascara, and I would go hide it, and they would literally. I could get them to promise to make me 3 dozen peanut butter cookies and a dozen oatmeal cookies. I mean, they would not mess with me because my older sister was a track star and she could like beat the holy crap out of me until like the 8th grade. And but my gosh, when they knew that they weren't going to have all their beauty tools, their whole world came to a stop. And I think that men are going to start doing this more. I mean, we just never did. Even when you lecture around the world, it's like, go to Philippines. I've lectured in Vietnam, Cambodia, all these countries. And the women, their front teeth are all PFM'd, upper 6, lower 6. And then she's standing next, and she's got high heel shoes on, and she looks all fancy. And then her husband's next to her, and he's barefoot. He's missing half his teeth, and he's equally happy. But it just doesn't register that he needs to go out and do all these things like his wife does. But I do think that that the men are going to start this slow forward drift over the next generation or two. Someday they may be into makeup and beauty and Invisalign and Botox as much as women could be. Do you think that could be?
Yes. So a lot of wives, encourage their husbands to come in for treatment. And I believe that when someone brings it to a man's attention, it's just bringing it to their attention. So again, for instance, I had my car wrapped. I went to the top guy in Miami who does wraps on, trucks and things. And, I had a conversation. I literally had to have a conversation with him about his teeth. And the moment that I brought it to his attention, his wife was like, yeah, he does need to get his wife, again, same what you're talking about. His wife has veneers, and she's like, yeah. And then he started bringing out pictures. I'm like, look at yourself, 10 years ago. He literally had pictures to show me in his office of him like in high school. I'm like, these are not the same teeth. So that honesty of bringing it to their attention and having like an honest conversation about it. I mean, with a man, they can make a decision just like this, but you have to bring it to their attention. Yes, most men don't think about it, and they don't think it's important, or they don't think anyone notices.
And
it's invisible.
I think a lot of men my age in dentistry are still in that same boat, because I remember going back to the beginning of the cosmetic revolution. I can remember sitting at one of the earliest big motivational speakers was Walter Haley, and he had a boot camp in Texas. And several different times that I had dinner with him, I remember one time David Hornbrook was there, cosmetic dentist out in San Diego, and he was saying, Walter, your teeth look so bad. I will do yours for free. You can't be lecturing in dentistry with those teeth. And then another time, Bill Dickerson made the same deal. I think Larry Rosenthal. I mean, I sat through 3 different lunches or dinners where people were begging him to do it for free because it was that bad of image. And then the big Jim Pride, who had the big institute and the first big consulting and lectured at UAP and University of California, San Francisco. He was always lecturing about cosmetic dentistry, and his teeth, I mean, they looked like, I mean, they were brown and dark and chipped and crowded and broken. And then I remember, because he got so mad at me, he says, I don't know why you guys can't sell cosmetic dentistry. And I raised my hand. I said, well, why don't you buy cosmetic dentistry? I mean, you have the worst teeth in the room. And he just, oh my, I should have said it more politically correct, but I thought he was more kind of like that. But there's a lot of dentists out there that I meet every day that are in their 50s and 60s, and their teeth look horrible. They don't even look average. They look below average.
Like, seriously, why? Like, I'll be honest. I mean, I've had associates apply for jobs, and I'm like, why would this person think that they could work in a cosmetic practice and their mouth looks like that? No way. So another tip for, doctors coming out. I mean, while you're in dental school, hey, get those veneers, get those crowns that you need done, that bonding, that whitening. I mean, close those gaps, make it happen. So then Howard, I could look at you too. I'm like, Howard, you're on TV. How come you haven't done anything with these wrinkles?
Well, I have a face for iTunes. We're just on YouTube for you.
Oh,
my following.
Yeah,
I have a face for radio, and you have a face for YouTube. But yeah, another thing. Does Invisalign? Is that kind of go with spa dentistry? I mean, are you into Invisalign? Is that a big part of your practice too?
Invisalign takes forever. So with cosmetic dentistry, again, if people are seeking out cosmetics, they're generally looking for something quicker. And it's just like so long. So yeah, of course we do it because it's a cosmetic way to like straighten your teeth. But Jesus, the cases go on, they can go on forever. So it's definitely not my top pick, and it's not something that we lead with. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, having a procedure that you can do in 2 weeks is a lot more nicer than something that takes 2 years.
Or 6 month smiles, you do it in 6 months. I mean, or less.
Yeah.
So again, and it's cosmetic. I mean, the brackets are clear, the wires are white. So there's other technologies out there that can move teeth. What you don't necessarily need veneers to straighten up the teeth, and you can do whitening afterwards.
Okay, so you are in the markets for hiring an associate, and you said you used to work for a DSO and you were involved in recruiting. Can you mention that DSO, or would you prefer not to?
No, I wouldn't mention it.
Okay.
I don't know if I could or not,
but when I look at,
it's been so long ago, I wouldn't have been. I used to work for Coast Dental.
Okay. When I look at DSOs, and I've had a lot of the CEOs of DSOs, they had a Rick Workman of Heartland and Bob Fontana of Aspen and Steve Thorne of Pacific. But one of the problems with millennials in general, it's not just in dentistry, but when you go look at them working at Facebook and Uber and Google and all the high tech where they're overpaid with stock options, and they have foosball and lunch and all the things they have, and yet they only keep their job for a year or two, their turnover. Whereas you take my mom's brother, who lives up the street from me, he got a job at Mobile Oil at age 16 in the mailroom and retired 65. I mean, he only had one job, Mobile Oil, the whole time, and he was lucky because when he took the job, there was a form that said, do you want us to withhold 3% for your retirement? And he thought about it for about 1 second, thought, yeah, why not? And of course, at 65, that was millions and millions and millions of dollars. And now he's the richest uncle in the family. But the bottom line is, what do you think about the return on investment of hiring an associate when all these DSOs, I mean, they're just coming and going and coming and going, and the turnover is off the charts? First of all, do you agree that they have high turnover of associates?
I do agree that they have high turnover of associates, yes. And I mean, as a private practice, I think it's important, and this is something that I'm still, we're still working this out. How, it's important to us. How do we prevent and or decrease turnover of our associates? How do we make them happy, but not necessarily offer them a pay that that they actually didn't produce? And obviously they can't play foosball during lunch or, but how do we teach doctors about, associates coming in about how the real world works around dentistry and especially cosmetic dentistry, and understanding insurance also, understanding treatment planning, these things, along with how to, manage the staff and how the staff is treating the associate. And I can be a pretty tough person. I'm learning to let go a little bit more, and let my team do a lot more. Holding on to associates is difficult. And I think one thing that's missing in DSOs from my experience, and one thing that I, am looking to change here at Dr. Patty's in order to make it an experience where a place where doctors want to come work, is listening to them. So just like the example that you gave me about, there's an associate doctor who wants to, bring Botox and fillers to this office, and they're so caught up and concerned about, well, how do I pay them, when the associate dentist is already kind of telling them what we can do to get it started. So I think listening to them, trying to understand them as much as possible, giving them resources. I can't answer all their questions, so having the right people in the office for them to be able to talk to, for instance, about HR things. I can't always help them with those questions. So having the right layers and people for them to talk to help them with different things, which DSOs do have, but generally, again, how they deal with associates around that is very unattractive. And that's probably why I didn't end up staying at a DSO that I was super loyal to, and just super happy to be working for. So listening to them, and I think having someone invested in human capital overall, in order to help manifest some of the things that they want, but also help them stay in touch with reality, with what's happening, and sort of how they play a part in creating what they want, is so important.
Okay, now I want you to answer this question very honestly. You were on Good Morning America. How did you sleep at all the night before? How scared and nervous were you the night you were going to be on Good Morning America?
Well, first of all, let me even go back a step further. When they called, I got the message that Good Morning America called, and I was like, what do they mean, good morning? I didn't even call the number back. I was like, I don't even understand this message. And I got the message again, and it was almost with an urgency that I think they came and got me out of the room. It was like, Good Morning America is on the phone. They said they left you a message and you haven't called back. And I was like, okay. And I spoke with them, and everything happened very quickly after I spoke with them coming flying here and everything. The night before, I did not sleep well. And I remember coming into the office, I actually had 6-month smile braces on my teeth. I came in the morning at 4:00 in the morning to my office and removed my own braces so that I would not have them on for the interview. That was exciting, but also a little bit nerve-wracking and totally unexpected for me.
Wow. And then where I posted that on Dental Town, someone replied, Angie Bachman. She says, she's an awesome woman. I had the opportunity to work with her. So shout out from Angie Bachman of Design Ergonomics. But anyway, she thinks you're awesome. So that's back to marketing. do not everyone can get on Good Morning America. That's a gift from just all things you. But do you try to do television, radio, billboards, things like that, or do you stick mostly to social media, like Facebook?
So again, one of the ways that I personally grew my practice was through outreach in my own community, being involved with my community. And I'm a very social person. I enjoy being out. And again, my life was a little bit different. I wasn't married when I first started my practice. I didn't have a child. It's a little bit harder for me to do those things now. So marketing through Instagram and social media have become bigger parts of my practice. But overall, I haven't in the past done billboards or radio or TV, but as I began recruiting for Miami, those are things that we are looking into doing. And it's a big production to do so. And very expensive to say the least. But I do things when I feel like they're necessary. Does that make sense? So I've never felt like it was necessary for me to do radio, but as I start recruiting doctors to work in my Miami practice, I believe that I will be creating a force field of larger marketing tactics. Yes.
There's a lot of people like Simon Sinek who talks about how important, find your why. And so when you look at all that you've done so far and expanding to a second location of 8,000 square feet, and all that you've done and accomplished so far, I mean, what is your why and what is your legacy? What is this all about with Dr. Patty?
That's a very good question, because and at the end of the day, it's really what keeps you going is if you understand your why, I think. My why is that, I said it before, is that I love people. I love growing people. Just today, I gave, my mom employees a little gift and a personal note. And I told them, I got them these little roses that, I guess they're like dried roses, but they don't like die, like that whether they're here with me or whether they, are not here with me, that they remember me and that I leave some type of positive, I call it paw print, on your little heart. And this makes you think of me and whatever that is. So I want to have an effect on people. I want to grow people. I'm generally very hard on my team naturally, because I'm around my team a lot. I want to be around people who want to grow, who want to learn, who want to continue to learn and not stay stagnant. So my why is, my legacy is, when I think about what I want to happen at my funeral, I want people to come to my funeral when I die and be like, Dr. Patty did this for me or taught me this, or, I learned this from Dr. Patty, and should I be able to leave a bunch of money behind for scholarships or anything like that, I would want people to want to give to that fund to continue to grow whatever it is I sort of created. That is my why. And again, I love working with associates because I had such a difficult time sort of starting my journey. If I can work with associates, even if they're with me for 1 or 2 years, and I hope that I have associates who stay with me for many years. If I could just show them a little bit of like what it takes to achieve success, whatever success is for them, because we all have different definitions of success, then that makes me happy.
That is well said, just well said. I can't believe we went over an hour, but I want to ask you one more question. You got time for one more question?
One more question, Howard.
When I look at a business, any business, when you look at the last 300 years of business in the United States, They started in New York City. They were all little shop houses where about the size of a car garage, and you would sell one thing. Maybe you were a baker or a candlestick maker, and you lived above that. And then the next generation, in order to compete with you, they said, well, I'm going to get twice as big and have twice as much inventory. And that has been the history of retail all the way to where Walmart and Home Depot and Costco, they all found out that at about 250,000 square foot, it was too big. It was becoming a negative. And about 4 or 5 years ago, Walmart started closing down some of those big 250,000 ones, and they got to the max level. And now we see in dentistry in the last 10 years that take implants. When ClearChoice added, okay, we're going to get the implant surgeon and the prosthodontist to restore and the lab tech all under one roof. 1 + 1 + 1 = 5. It was bought and sold 4 or 5 times. Finally, Bob Fontana of Aspen bought it because he's got 1,000 dental offices that could funnel all on 4s into him. When I look at the first 10 years I practiced versus the last 10 years, my gosh, if 100 moms took their baby to the pediatric dentist, they're all going to ask, will little Billy need braces someday? And now you see the pediatric dentist opening up with an orthodontist. Again, 1 + 1 = more than 2. The whole is greater than sum of its part. When in my backyard, when I see an orthodontist and a pediatric dentist open up in a couple of years, it's 3 times bigger than any pediatric dentist or any orthodontist. Have you had any thoughts of following what we've learned in retail over the last 3 centuries, that if you, I remember the first time I lectured in Australia in I think it was 1990, and for dinner, we went to a bakery and got stuff, and then we went to the butcher and got stuff, and I was blown, I felt like it was 1950s America, and
They
it's like,
still do that in parts of Italy, by the way, Howard. They
in
still
Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, holy moly, in Phoenix, this would be one trip. But I was wondering, you personally, have you thought about following the history of retail and putting more of these specialties under one roof?
Absolutely. And 2 reasons for that. One, like you just said, that synergy of having people be in one place that they trust and kind of do a continuation of services. I mean, it's unbelievable. Once they trust you and they like the service, they will continue to spend money with you, you know? So yes, that synergy is extremely important. Also, as I hire associates, you know, they're like, I don't do this, I don't do that, so, you know, as a general practitioner, owning the practice, you know, I do IV sedation, I do crowns, I do, you know, sinus lifts, I do implants. You know, my, you know, tool belt is just incredible. The tool belt that associates come on with now is like, you know, they know how to do like 4 things. So, which is okay. They're really good at those things, but they may have not had the time, money, or opportunity to sort of pursue the continuing education in order to add tools onto that tool belt. So, you know how you ask me, am I a workhorse? Yeah, I don't want to have to come in and do a root canal necessarily, you know? So opening the practice in Miami and then having a synergy of my 2 offices, 100%, I'm looking to hire on endodontists or maxillofacial surgeons. I'm looking to hire on, you know, prosthodontists who can do these tougher full restoration cases that I can do, that when I bring on an associate, that's like blowing their hair off. So, looking at, occlusal vertical dimensions and all these things, so I am going to absolutely be bringing on, specialists to create that synergy where once, I have a client, there's that continuation of services, and they're not having to go somewhere else to have these services done. I even will have a medical wing for cosmetic services. So again, if they trust us on the dental side and they also would like a boob job or a butt lift, there will be medical doctors who can take care of that. So I'm taking it to the next level in Miami. Continuation of services and synergy of services, unbelievable.
Here's my final question, and I know my dentist. I mean, I know them well. I've lectured 1,000 times in 50 countries. The bottom line is they're coming out of school this month, 6,500 of them just in the United States. They think their number one problem is student loans at 400,000, which is comical because their first divorce will cost $1 million. I mean, student loan looks like chump change. My divorce was 41 times more expensive than my student loans. My student loans were 87,000. My divorce was 3.8 million. It's not the student loans. It's just that they're scared. They have fear. They're not sleeping well. They're real nervous. So my final question to you is to the graduating class of 2021 who's graduating. They're scared shitless that they're going from a protected dental kindergarten school to the real world. And what advice would you give them to address the fear that they have and their sleepless nights as they approach graduation and enter the brutal jungle of the real world?
Oh, okay. Make sure you're really good at something, at least one thing. Make sure you're really good at one thing. So when you go to find a job, you have confidence that there's at least one thing that you're really good at. And hopefully it's like a higher, like, don't let it be like fillings, you know what I mean? Like, be really good at prepping crowns. Be really good at treatment planning. Be really good at something. And, work that. When you're interviewing, work it. I'm really good at this. As a doctor who owns a practice and is hiring associates, I'm looking for a doctor who's really confident in something, Don't worry, I can help treatment plan, get you those clients in your chair. But be really good at something that I can put that client in your chair and I know for sure, that client is going to be taken care of. It's not about being a jack of all trades. Be good at something.
That is perfect advice. My gosh. That's why specialists make 100,000 more than general dentists, because they just got good at something. And you're a young kid, and the first thing you need to do is find one darn thing to get really, really good at, and you can build a whole career, lifetime, and legacy like Dr. Patty if you start.
One more thing, Howard. The other thing I have to say is do not be closed. If you're coming out, do not be closed to someone wanting to teach you a quicker way, a faster way to do something that may not be exactly like the books, said it. Be open. My goodness. Yes, you're a doctor, but this is the practice of dentistry. Be open to continuing to learn.
But most people don't describe doctors of dentistry, medicine, or law as humble. And to keep an open mind, you have to stay humble. How do you get a doctor of anything to stay humble?
Hashtag be humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay humble, learn from your mentors, and you got to start by getting good at one thing. Hey, it was an absolute honor that you came on the show today to talk to my homies. Big privilege. And I want you to know that everybody in Arizona, we try to be as crazy as Florida. That's our motto in Arizona. We say, hey, we're the Florida of the West. No one pays attention to us. So from one crazy dentist in Arizona to the craziest state in the nation, Florida, thank you so much for coming on the show. And best of luck to you and your baby. That is so darn cool. And I can't sympathize with the pain of delivering a baby, but I've had kidney stones 3 times. I know it's worse. Because after kidney stones, no one ever says, you should do it again. You should have another stone. But good luck on that baby. And my gosh, that's going to be one lucky baby. And I hope it's the joy of your life.
All right. Thank you, Howard. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me on. And again, feel free to email me if you're looking for a job, especially info@drpattydental.com.
All right. Have a great day.